All right, here we go. This is video clip 3 out of 66 as we continue kind of going through the Bible, one verse per book. I called it Fishes of Men because I was going to do a lot of it with fishing and on my boat, but man, life's been busy. So, but I can tie it in because I'm into a basketball game, but I have a little time, so I'm going to Bass Pro Shop, so we're calling it part of Fishes of Men. How about that? Anyway, we're moving on to Leviticus. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. Leviticus, oh, there's good stuff in there. Lots of blood and guts as they sacrifice animals and different things, but I'm not going to choose one of those. I looked up and found one I think is pretty cool. And so, well, here we go. Leviticus 19:18. It says this: "You shall not take vengeance or bear a grudge against any of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." Boy, that sounds familiar. Love your neighbor as yourself. Oh yeah, it was a teaching of Jesus. Here's what's interesting. Those who read the Bible, those who don't know the Bible, have a perspective of there were two gods. The God of the Old Testament, who was vengeful and mean and was angry at his people, and the God of the New Testament of Jesus that was love and teddy bears. That's just not true. If you read through, there is a lot of judgment and a lot of blood and guts and vengefulness, if that's a word, in the Old Testament, but there was also a lot of love. And it really was all pointing to love and judgment and how God forgives us. So let's not make the mistake of thinking God was mean in the Old Testament and somehow turned nice suddenly through Jesus in the New Testament. That is kind of sometimes a misunderstanding that we have of the Bible. Anyway, so let's look back to this verse and see what we can learn from it. Leviticus 19:18, love your neighbor as yourself. We got one problem here, which is a whole nother topic, and that's loving yourself. And unfortunately, too many of us don't love ourselves. I always say this, there are mornings when I get up and look in the mirror and I don't like what I see. It's not the extra weight and the double chin, but it's more than just looks. It's just, I just don't like myself, don't like what I see and knowing what I think and the things I do. So other of us really love ourselves. President Trump. But anyway, no matter what side you're on, I think we can all admit he really likes himself. But anyway, so that's the first part of this, is loving yourself. One thing to think of in loving yourself is God loves you just as you are. And if you are worthy of the love of God, you are worthy of the love of yourself. And so consider that here today. But let's look at the second part, or the first part, and that is loving your neighbor. It says, don't hold a grudge against anyone, don't take vengeance, but love your neighbor. And that can get difficult. Your neighbor is anybody around you. It's not just your neighbor that lives next door to you, but it's all those you come in contact with, the person with the locker next to you, your classmates, the individuals you pass in the hall. It's really everybody. And love is so much more than just saying, I love you because God told me to. It's a lot more than that. Love is action. And so we have to take action. We've got to go out and love people. And it says don't take vengeance or hold a grudge against others. And man, we do this a lot. In today's world, one thing I'm worried about is taking vengeance, is this idea of revenge. And we see this in the violence. We see this in somebody diss me and roast me, so I'm gonna go get my gun and shoot somebody. But not just that violence, but even in just every day, it seems like we're so quick to respond. Somebody trashes you on Instagram or on Snapchat, and you immediately respond and let them have it. And that's not what we're told to do in the Bible. We're told to love them and not, just ignore it. Let it be. and move on, but love them. And loving somebody who's mean to you can be very difficult. So we need to do that. Bearing a grudge is another thing. I like to say, and this goes to forgiveness, I like to say that I've forgiven all those who've wronged me in my life. But if I'm really honest, there are probably individuals that I've just still not forgiven. And that's not right. And not forgiving someone is holding a grudge. And so I need to work on that. I need to forgive others as God forgave me. And that's some Bible stuff too. So think about that today. 2 things. Well, 3 things actually. Ooh, getting all theological. The first thing is that love yourself. God loves you. You are worthy. The second thing is love others. Love your neighbors. Love those around you. And the third thing we can learn from this verse is don't hold grudges. So, little tidbit, short little video today. I told him I'd keep you between 5 and 8 minutes. I really hope you've watched this one and maybe the 2 before. If you watch the first and the second one, there is a prize to be had. So you got to watch the second video, and then if you watch the first, there is a prize. So make sure and check that out. You guys have a great and blessed day, and we'll talk to you later.